Hey y'all, Shelby with OM here with my latest blog, 7 Tips for B2B SaaS Marketing Teams. Here at OM, we work with a lot of B2B SaaS teams. It's one of the niches that we specialize in here. So just wanted to write a quick blog on a few tips that we have really come across as we work with those teams, things that we've learned, and just share it with y'all. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and jump in. First tip I have here is having a proper digital foundation. This is just number one for anything that I will ever say. If you don't have this foundation in place where you are tracking user and conversion data, you're going to have a tough, if not impossible time finding out what strategies are working because you're not seeing where your leads are coming from, you're not seeing where your conversions and your users are coming from, and you're flying blind. And when you're flying blind, you're really just doing whack-a-mole marketing, which is something that you should not strive to do. So really work to get that proper digital foundation in place before you really even dive into anything else. And if you don't have it up, get into it because it is really one of the most valuable things that you can have in marketing. Even if you're really not doing a lot of marketing efforts, whether it's paid or organic, it's still very useful to see how you're doing. We do have a little blog here that I've linked here within this blog that you can access should you want to learn a little bit more about that. Then we have exploring numerous ad platforms. This is tip number 2. For SaaS businesses, I've heard this argument before. It can be very, very tempting to only advertise on Google Search, Capterra, and G2 and just call it a day. And I get it. Capterra and G2 are some of the biggest software platforms out there for searching and finding reviews and things like that. And then Google Search is, of course, Google Search. That one's basically a no-brainer for any marketing team unless it's ridiculously expensive, which I have also seen in the software space. So that's something to be aware of. And that is also sort of a lead into finding different platforms to test because you can find some really, really good results, whether it is building engagement or brand awareness and brand loyalty or just affinity, things like that, whether that's on Facebook, LinkedIn, Reddit, Twitter, Bing, and any other ad platform under the sun. It can be really surprising to see what ad platforms work for certain industries. It's something that I have constantly been surprised about in my career, so I definitely recommend testing it. If you have a limited budget, this might be tough, but if you do have some wiggle room or just curious to see how some portion of your marketing budget will work somewhere else, I highly recommend testing it on the other platforms. If you're not on Facebook, test a little bit on Facebook, test a little bit on LinkedIn, try for different marketing objectives like conversions and traffic, maybe even like page likes if you're trying to get brand awareness up. It can be really, really surprising to see how well your ads perform on a previously untapped network platform. So I really recommend it. Tip number 3, this is sort of in the same vein of what we were talking about before, is working with reps to maximize performance. This is basically a free service that is sometimes offered to companies that spend typically a certain amount of money. I don't think they say what those specific amounts are, but you'll sometimes be paired up with a marketing rep either on Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, Bing. I think I've had a rep before. So it's really just a great way to get a free second opinion. They'll be assigned to your account. They typically change out quarterly, so you'll get to work with different people, get different insights. And it's usually a very good experience. You set a cadence with them. You can work with them either on like a monthly or bi-weekly, sometimes even a weekly basis. And the advice here, I've definitely gotten mixed results here. There's been some reps for some platforms that have been stellar. There's been others that have not been so good. It really does depend on the rep, but they can do things like catch problems in the account that you might have overlooked. And they also, sometimes you get some ineffective or unapplicable advice, but there have been a lot of times where they give me just like a slam dunk that, they just say this advice to me and I'm like, oh my gosh, why didn't I think about that? That is genius. So definitely recommend it. It's free. It doesn't take a lot of time. I would absolutely take advantage of this if it's offered to you. Moving on to tip 4 is building a sales and marketing funnel for long sales cycles. Sales reps in your team will probably have a good idea of how long it takes for them to close a deal. It really depends on the team, the offering of your services, and the size of the business that you're trying to work with. I've learned that big businesses move very, very slow. So although some deals may close in a week or two, if not a few days, many can take over a year to close. I've definitely had a few clients where they've had some deals that have been floating around for like 1 or 2 years or so, and they're still talking, they're going back and forth occasionally, maybe once a month or every other few months. It's just very slow. It's taken a long time to make those decisions. So that's why it's really important to keep these longer sales cycles in mind when building your marketing and your sales funnels. So it can be really tempting to avoid sending a lead too much material because you don't want to poke a sleeping bear, so to speak. You don't want to have this very, very slow but very, very hot lead and then just really annoy them because that is a surefire way to lose them. But when you consider that these are often really, really busy leaders in these organizations, giving them some well-timed reading material and resources that are very, very valuable to them can really get you in their good graces. And even if it's things that aren't necessarily related to your business, like news in the industry that they're in, or just giving them that bite-sized chunk of information to read at their leisure, it can really help them with being more aware of your brand. So do be careful to weigh your options here because it can really depend on the role of the person you're emailing, the industry they're in, the timing of your communications. Like, you, of course, want to avoid sending things during the holidays, but it can be really valuable. I also recommend including your ad strategy here. It can be really, really valuable to continue to serve ads to leads that are in your funnel because they're not all the way through the funnel. They haven't purchased yet. They're still a lead. So continuing to build that awareness there on the paid platform side can be really helpful as well. Then for tip 5, I do recommend that you do some competitor research. I can definitely see there being arguments against this because we do want to be different from our competitors, and by looking at what they're doing, it can be tempting to mimic what they're doing or to react to what they're doing. But it's still really important to just take a look at the playing field and see what's going on. There's no need to reinvent the wheel every step of the way because you can take a look at the keywords that they're ranking for or trying to rank for, and then keywords that they're doing or that they're bidding on the paid side. You can take a look at their ad libraries on Facebook, see what they're posting on their organic channels, see what they're posting on YouTube, and really any other platform. You can just kind of see what their online presence and even their offline presence is looking like if they're putting out some press releases or things like that. So just getting an idea of what they're doing and how they are performing can show you some of where your opportunities are as well. There's a really good art workbook that I bought when I was still an art student, and it's called Steal Like an Artist, and it takes a lot of liberties with looking at art that you like or art that you see out in the wild and sort of stealing what you can from that. And I take that approach with marketing when it comes to competitors. Is obviously you don't want to steal everything. You don't want to steal like their brand colors and things like that, but you do just want to see what they're doing, keep an eye on them maybe once a quarter or every other quarter or so, and just see if there's any changes worth noting and anything that you can steal for your own brand. So then tip 6, we have provide leads with transitional and transactional CTAs. When we say transitional CTA, we mean something that's a little bit more lightweight, that doesn't necessarily lead to a purchase, or something transactional, which is a transactional CTA. So this could be something like a learn more or a download ebook or CTA, things like that, or even just joining like a newsletter. That can be something valuable, although it's not as common in the B2B SaaS space from what I've seen, unless you have a very, very valuable newsletter in this space, which is definitely difficult to build up, but is something that would be interesting to see. And the reason that we recommend doing a mixture of transitional and transactional CTAs is that not every lead is going to want to book a demo with you the first time they encounter you. And to be perfectly honest, they may not want to book a demo with you the 30th or even like the 40th or 50th time they see you. It can be really daunting to schedule a demo with a company you don't know that much about and, just say, okay, 30 or 40 or an hour or 30 or 40 minutes or an hour of my time, I'm just going to get sucked away by this demo for this product that I don't know anything about. Offering transitional things like a case study or an ebook can be really helpful because that person in that buying role or that decision-making role can just pick that up when they're ready and learn everything they want to learn about your business all in one. Just like in a lunch break or in a simple, on the train or whatever it is that they are able to. It's a lot more digestible. And this is something we also covered in another blog, is that so many buyers nowadays want a self-guided buying process that it's starting to make a lot more sense to give leads the freedom to choose how they interact with your business until they're truly ready to speak with you. Because if a lead doesn't want to speak to you, they're going to do everything in their power to not speak to you. So it's best to just give them the resources that will help educate and engage them until they are ready to make that that step into actually speaking with you. And then number 7, this is my last tip of the blog: build, launch, and optimize an ABM strategy. So this is something that is pretty time intensive. It takes a bit to set up. Once it's done, it's a little bit easier because it's just a little bit of rote performance by your sales team to just send out these emails if it's not automated, and then make the calls and things like that. So it'll typically come later in your marketing optimization process, but it can be really, really valuable to implement. It's something where we recommend that marketing and sales collaborate on. Marketing and sales should collaborate just in general anyways, especially if it's a very long sales cycle like we discussed earlier. But this is something where they can really learn from each other. They can learn the audiences that are really good. They can learn the messaging that's really good from each other, and things like that. So it definitely is valuable for them to work together. And you can incorporate several channels such as outbound email, paid ads, and organic content in this strategy. Not to even speak to things like text messages and other things like direct mail, or sending swag to them like socks or things like that of that nature. So one of the first things that you want to do here is consider your ideal customer profile. Just take a look at what your best customers look like. Think about who they are, the firmographics of their company, who they are specifically, what their role is within the company, what kind of things they care about, what things are bothering them that your product can solve, and where they spend their time online. Where can you find them? Can you find them on Facebook? Can you find them on LinkedIn? Where are they searching? Things like that. Answering those questions is what's going to be able to help you plan your ABM strategy, because if you know who they are, you know who they care about, you've got your audience, you've got your messaging, and then you've also, with knowing where they go, you know where to be serving these ads. So you'll be able to reach the right audiences on the right networks and send them the right messages at the right time. And it can take some time to spin up, like I said, but we've seen a lot of success with these campaigns over the years and recommend that you try one out if you have the resources. So that's it. Those are my 7 tips. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment box below, and we'll try to get back to you. And yeah, hope y'all have a great day. Thanks. Take care. Bye.